This is Contractor Sense with Ruth King.
Welcome to Contractor Sense. Here you discover ideas, tactics, news, and information that matters to your contracting business and you. I'm your host, Ruth King. This episode is sponsored by HVAC Trust Books. Go to hvactrustbooks.com to discover how this tool can help you close more sales. Thank you for joining us. Here is how we will help your business and you today. My profit and loss statement showed a profit, but where's the cash? Discover the answer to this question in the first segment of this podcast. Then, in the second segment, Will Ezel, creator of the HVAC Trust Books, answers the one question that your customers won't ask but is always on their minds. Answer this question and you will close more sales. Let's get started. I got an email from a contractor that said, my profit and loss statement showed a profit, but I'm confused. Where's the cash? This is so typical when you look at a profit and loss statement, and especially at this time of year when the tax man wants his piece of the profits and you don't have cash. The answer to this question is really understanding the difference between a P&L and a balance sheet. Your profit and loss statement, or P&L, tells you whether you earned a profit or not. It does not tell you how much cash you have in the bank. Cash is an asset on your balance sheet, and the profit and loss statement and the balance sheet are two totally different statements. So let's look at the P&L. P&L basically says revenues or sales, subtract out my costs, and I have profit, or I have a loss. If I have a profit, I had more revenue than expense. If I had a loss, I had more expense than revenue. It has nothing to do with the amount of cash that you have. So, how do you get the cash? Well, you turn your profits into cash by collecting your accounts receivable. Again, what you'll do is when you send out the work and you do the work, you're going to send out an invoice or you're going to collect COD, one of the two things. But you're going to use that cash to pay the bills associated with that particular job. And hopefully there'll be some cash left over and you've got cash. But profit, again, is not cash. So what we do in the strictest accounting sense of the word is take our profit and we turn it into cash this way. We create an accounts receivable for the work that we did. We collect for the accounts receivable, and both of those are balance sheet items. Then, once the accounts receivable are collected, we pay the bills associated with that job, which were in accounts payable, which is in liability on your balance sheet. And then what's left over, you get to have as retained earnings for that job, which goes into the other part of your balance sheet. So what happens a lot of times is contractors think that their P&L tells them how much cash they have, but it really and truly doesn't. Your P&L tells you how much profit you had or how much of a loss you had. And of course, you can't have losses for very long before your business is going to be in great amount of trouble because you won't have the cash to pay your bills. But what do we do here? And we think about it and say, okay, my profit and loss statement tells me how much revenue I had and how much expense I had and whether or not, I don't know, I've got a profit. That's great. You've got to, again, make sure that you understand that the profit is important. But if you don't collect for those profits, you're in trouble too. I had a contractor who many years ago was a very profitable contractor. He had 10 years of phenomenal profits. Very, very good. Very good at what they did. Very good at being efficient at what they did. And they did a lot of commercial work. And guess what? One day, actually 1 week, 3 of his major GCs filed bankruptcy. Guess what happened? It put him out of business. And here's why. He had billed for the work, but they hadn't paid it. So he had accounts receivable of over $1 million that were no longer any good. And he didn't have the cash behind him to cover that $1 million. So even though he was doing profitable work, he wasn't collecting for all that profitable work. And when the GCs went bankrupt, he had no way to collect. Now, you're going to say, okay, well, if it was bonded, then you could get it from the bonding company. Well, guess how long that actually takes? A long time. And if it wasn't bonded, then you're basically out because you go through bankruptcy court, and that takes months and months if you get anything at all. Usually the lawyers take most of it. So the key to remember in this is to make sure that you understand that your P&L just tells you whether you had more revenue than expense, i.e. you made a profit, or you had more expense than revenue and you had a loss. It does not tell you how much cash you have in the bank. Here's something that you should consider is making sure that when you show a profit, that you are collecting for that work as quickly as you possibly can. For those of you who are residential, everything that you do should be COD. There's no excuses this day and age because you can't walk into Walmart and not pay. You can't walk into the gas station and not pay. Everybody is collecting COD from a residential perspective. From a commercial perspective, whenever possible, get a down payment. Make sure that you get 10%, 20%, 30% down on a job if you can. Then make sure that you talk with your customer's accounting department so that you understand what is required when you submit all of the invoices. Make sure you submit them according to what their needs are, because that's how quickly you will get paid. If you don't submit it like they want it, guess what? You're not going to get paid in the amount of time. You'll call and say, oh, we need this. They're not going to tell you they need that because they want to hold on to their cash as long as possible. So you want to make friends with the accounting department, because if there is a problem later on, you'll have a person that you can talk to, that you have a relationship, and find out when you are actually getting your money. It's also important from a commercial perspective that if you don't get paid, you are willing to stop work. Many contractors are not willing to stop work, period. You've got to be so that you can protect your hard-earned cash. Remember, cash is a balance sheet item and profit is a P&L item. The two are different. Profits are turned into cash, and cash is obviously critical for the growth of your business, the survival of your business, and making sure that you can sleep well at night. When we get back, we're going to talk with Will Ezel, the creator of the HVAC Trust Books, and he will answer the one question that your customers will not ask, and I promise you it's always on their minds. So when you answer this question, I promise you'll close more sales. I'll be right back. Thanks for listening to Contractor Sense. I've seen my clients' salespeople struggle when a customer asks why they should use your company rather than the competition when your price is higher and you both are proposing the same equipment. I've seen technicians struggle when customers ask them whether they should replace an 18-year-old air conditioner. And most salespeople and technicians never ask the one question that most customers are concerned about, yet never asked. Can I trust you? I found a tool that gives your salespeople and technicians the ammunition to answer this question and more. And the tool works. How do I know? 68% of my clients are using it to increase sales and referrals. What is it? A trust book with your name on it as the author. More details are at hvactrustbooks.com. Warning, there is only one contractor per area that can get these great books. Some areas are already taken. They've gone to my clients. If you want your area and want to have a tool for your salespeople and technicians to increase referrals and sales, then go to hvactrustbooks.com now and reserve your area.
Don't let this happen to you. Here's a transcript of an email sent to Ruth King. Dear Ruth, I wish I had this book 2 years ago. I discovered my bookkeeper had embezzled over $200,000 from the company. I used to be debt-free. Now I have a mortgage and payments on other debt I incurred to relieve the cash flow crunch caused by the embezzlement. Don't let this sad situation be your story too. An epidemic of workplace thievery and embezzlement harms today's business world, our economy, and ultimately your income and net worth. Discover the top 50 ways employees and vendors steal from you in Ruth King's new book, The Ugly Truth About Cash. Ruth also gives you the procedures to implement to help prevent embezzlement and keep the honest people honest. Find The Ugly Truth About Cash on Amazon or go to www.thecouragetobeprofitable.com to order an autographed copy of Ruth's book. Get the information you need to protect your hard-earned cash and assets. That's thecouragetobeprofitable.com. Do it now.
Welcome to Contractor Sense. Here you discover ideas, tactics, news, and information that matters to your small business and you. I'm your host, Ruth King. Thank you for joining us. Here is how we will help your business and you today. 95% of your prospective customers won't ask you this question, but the answer is critical to closing more sales. So what is the question? Will Ezel gives you the answer and tells you how to answer it even without your customer asking it directly during the first segment of today's podcast. After the break, Bill Gentry shows you how to become the manager that people want to work for. So let's get started. Will, welcome to Contractor Sense.
Thank you, Ruth. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
My pleasure. Now, you've been doing a lot of work and really understand why people buy. Is that correct?
Well, I've spent the majority of my life trying to get people to say yes, but do it without being pushy or salesy or obnoxious. And I guess that means that I've spent a lot of time reading, studying, focusing on influence and persuasion, and basically human behavior.
Right. And that's really the work that you've done, and the work that you've done with contractors and the work that you've done for other companies really and truly says that you have a great understanding of how to get people to say yes. Yes, the answer is yes to that question.
Well, Ruth, you know me really, really well. We've known each other quite a while. I've written a lot of copy for you. You've seen some of the results of, and you are also familiar with some of my clients, things like that. So I oftentimes hesitate to call myself an expert, you know?
You are. Anyway, for everybody who's listening to this podcast, Will is an expert. So I wanted to at least give you that background of Will really and truly does know what he's talking about. So let's answer the questions. What is the question that 95% of the people won't ask you during a sales presentation?
I think it's 99%. And that question is, how do I know that I can trust you?
So trust is important.
Well, and especially regarding the HVAC profession. And the reason why is because there's been so many exposés on even our local television stations, but
2020, yeah.
Yeah, on and on and on. Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody knows and is so fearful about when a media person calls them on the phone, they almost don't want to do it, rather than saying, yes, this can be good for our company if they follow us around.
It could be good for the company if the person that they're sending around or they're doing the tour with or whatever they're shooting is a trustworthy individual and isn't saying things that sound like something that anybody would say to make a sale.
Right. Okay. So trust is the issue. Now, I know from my personal perspective that if I don't trust somebody, even if I like them, I won't buy from them. Is this true for most people?
I don't know, and I don't know anybody who has ever been able to determine that factor. And there is a massive amount of science, psychology science or behavioral science in trying to determine that answer. But I don't know the answer to that. And I hate to even tell you that.
Yeah. But I know if I like somebody, but I don't trust them, I will not personally buy from them. So if you all are like me, you probably are very similar. So how do we get people to trust us, Will?
We do it slowly. We do it patiently. And we, first of all, examine what it is that makes us not trust people and then not do those things, if that makes sense to you.
Okay, so we're in a situation where we build rapport, because I've heard that term talked about a lot. A lot of people say, okay, the first thing you got to do is in a sales presentation is build rapport. And so people look around and they look for something that they can talk about in their homes, and they fake something and say, oh, that looks great or whatever, when they really and truly don't mean it. To me, that's not building rapport. That to me is like, I don't trust you.
I agree, Ruth. I absolutely agree. Your salesperson has to be somebody who truly cares about people and who truly wants people to have improvement, comfort, the best of the best for whatever they want. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I had a conversation with a contractor yesterday, and we were talking about this very issue. And the fact is, we don't go there and sell them a system. We go there and give them the comfort and the things that they actually want, and then obviously need after that.
Exactly. I say this all the time. It's not always the best companies that win or the best a person that knows how to install an HVAC system better than anybody else out there. It's the ones that do the best job of influencing. And that also means engaging and communicating along with building trust.
Okay. And so you've actually written what I call a trust book. Is that correct?
You know I have, yes.
Okay. So what does the trust book do?
The trust book does what most of us can't do, because I can't just say, Ruth, you just need to trust me.
Oh, gosh. If you want me not to trust you, tell me that.
Well, in fact, I have a list of about 150 stink words and stink phrases. And I know you laugh because I've shared a lot of them with you. But anytime you use the phrase need to, people's brain turns off. So there's a massive amount of behavioral science that goes into how to communicate with somebody so you don't use these stink words or stink phrases like need to. Just think about it. Ever since we were little kids, people have been telling us that we need to do something. And we've heard it so much that our brain just turns off automatically. Let me give you another example of a stink word. Learn.
Oh my gosh.
Ruth, when are you going to learn this? Okay. How does that make you feel? And I think we've heard the word learn 10,000 times by age 6. And let me just give you a word to replace that word learn that is very exciting, very fun, very thrilling. And that's the word discover.
Okay.
So we have to know what words and phrases not to use. We also have to know what words and phrases to use. But the other thing that we do in these trust books is we open the kimono and we show the dirty tricks and dirty secrets that dishonest and unscrupulous HVAC contractors do so to damage people. So what that does is our brain as a consumer or a buyer or a prospective buyer takes this leap. And what they're saying is this, like, let's say the trust book has your name on the cover, Ruth, and you're meeting with a prospective new buyer. And at some point during the sales presentation, you're handing your buyer this book, this trust book. And the buyer or the prospect sees it, reads it, either after you leave or while you're there, and sees you exposing all these dirty secrets and dirty tricks and all these things that you should not do. What happens is their brain takes a jump and they go, if Ruth is showing this to me, first of all, I know what to look for now. And second of all, because she's exposed this to me, I know that she's not going to do that. You can't really do that by talking to people and exposing all those dirty tricks and secrets because there's too many of them.
All right. True. All right. So where do we get this trust book?
You get it at hvactrustbooks.com.
Okay. And I assume on the website is the explanation of and all the things that they have to do to get them, correct?
Ruth, you're asking me a leading question because you already know the answer to that again. Thankfully, you are the person that is talking people through about a 6-minute video that explains exactly what the book is, shows what the book is, and talks about the process and how it's so beneficial, because it actually does answer that one question that I say 99% of all prospects will never have the guts to ask you. How can I trust you? And it slowly but surely, through about 50, 55 pages, walks you through the process and develops the trust.
Very good. So it's www.hvactrustbooks.com.
Or trustbooks.com.
Okay. Either way. Will, thanks so much for being with us, and look forward to hopefully helping a whole lot of contractors answer the question, can I trust you?
Ruth, it's always a pleasure. I think the world of you, and thank you very much for inviting me to join you.
Very much. And thanks to you also.
Thank you for joining us. Choose one thing that you discovered and implement it in your business. These ideas, tactics, and strategies help you make more money, have more free time, and give back. If you like today's program, spread the word. Help a fellow contractor make more money too. For comments or questions, call me at 770-729-0258 or email ruthking@hvacchannel.tv.
Thanks for listening. Have a great and profitable day.